Yes, I've been interested in reptiles since 1980, since I went to my first exhibit, and I got to hand feed an Asian water monitor eggs. So.
But you also keep all the reptiles, right?
Yes, I keep a lot of different reptiles. I do educational shows. Right. I bring boas, pythons, tegus, iguanas.
And you do rescue also too?
Yes,
and you
I also
help
do.
the Fish and Wildlife through training, which is great.
And I also do snake calls for Hernando County, Pasco, Hillsborough, Citrus.
Very good. So, Indu,
all right.
John Edison, who we talked about monitors.
All right, I'm going to show you the difference between an Asian water monitor and a Nile monitor. The first monitor that I'm taking out is a Nile monitor. It's 1.5 years old. He was given to me. A lady had gotten him from a pet store. He was misidentified, and I ended up with him. And favorite things to eat that I'm feeding are rodents, pinkies, cat food, and chopped up eggs. You can see the type pattern, the speckling, and then look at the face, the stripes, and look at the nostril placement close to the eye. These guys max out at about 5 feet. The last Nile monitor that I had one back in the 90s. It was around 15 years old when it passed. I got it. It came from a exhibit that shut down, and it was a good tame monitor, and I used to take it to school for education day, science day and stuff, and walk them around on a leash. Normally these guys are very aggressive, but I've been lucky to get a few in my life that have been very tame. This is for an advanced keeper. You're going to have to build a huge cage for them, around 12 by 12, then with a big water source, a heat source. You do not want them to get cold during the winter. They can get a respiratory, or if they move away from the heat source, so you want to heat the whole area instead of having it in one spot and then they go away over to the other side to cool off. If it gets way too hot, you'd want to make sure that it stays at that 80 degrees in there for them. You can no.
My monitor. Hi.
That would be. Oh yeah, it's got a blue tint to him.
He's gorgeous. You must have a special permit.
That's to get all the.
Oh yeah, I got the prohibited permit for all the prohibited species. I have 4 tegus, an iguana, the Nile monitor. Then I have a Burmese python. I have a reticulated python, and I have an anaconda.
Very good.
So.
John, and the colors, when they get older, does the color get darker or does it get brighter?
A lot of times it'll get darker.
Be darker.
Yes. When they're young like this, that's when they keep that vibrant color, and then it goes away and then they get darker, and that helps them warm up in the sun.
When the eggs are, when they lay the eggs, how long does it take to hatch? Or can you control the temperature and control the sex?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can control the sex by the temperature. Okay. The higher the temperature, it's going to be a female. I mean, I'm trying to remember that.
85, 82, something?
Yeah, the male's going to be at the lower temperature, and the female's at the higher temperature. Yeah, it's kind of just like with the alligators, and it also works with the snakes also. And they, if I remember correctly, I think it's like 12 to 20 eggs that they can lay. These guys will also raid crocodiles' nests in the wild. That's one of their favorite things, to go and be nest raiders. But this one's about 1.5 years. A lot of times they get misidentified as an Asian water monitor or Komodo dragon. That happens a lot with my big Asian as soon as you pull out a big monitor, oh, it's a Komodo dragon. No, it's in the same family. Too much YouTube antics with all the crazy videos out there where they can splice stuff and make things look. Yes, there's one video out there where it makes an anaconda look as big as an excavator, and it's like, no, it's on the internet, it's true. It's like, no, it's not.
To tell the sex on those, right? Can you tell the sex when they're young like that, or you
see how wide the tail is?
Right.
You would see where the hemis are right there. Okay. And a lot of times when they get upset and they would go to defecate, they will stick out their hemis. And that's one ways when they get upset. But this guy, normally that's the ones that would be real bitey and stuff. And once that doesn't work, that's when they start going to the bathroom everywhere.
Another thing I heard too, with a lot of the larger monitors, for the heating elements, you can't just have one, you have to have several.
Yes, I have a heater, and the way that my cage is set up, it's 12 by 12, and then I have a divider into it where it can go into where it's really humid because it has a 275-gallon pond in there. Then I have 4 of the 250-watt chicken bulbs. Then it goes through the cat door into the other area, and then there's a dog house for him to go into, and then on the other side there's a crate that he can go into, and then I have a heater in there that I have it set at 80 in there. Now during the summer, I have it insulated, and it stays around 100 degrees on one side and around 85 to 90 on the other side. And then I have a fan that keeps the circulation going up at the top. And that's how I keep this guy, the big guy. This one right now is inside in about a 4-foot vision cage, and then he has a 60-watt heat emitter on one side, and then on the other side he's got a 75-watt basking light.
With the high temperature, I mean, the digestive system is very fast, so they're constantly eating.
Oh yeah, they'll eat every day. Yeah. I'm constantly, for this guy, I'm getting cat food, pinkies. Every time I go in there, he'll have his face pushed up against the side of the glass, looking at me, is she gonna feed me? And then as soon as they eat, oh, that's a nice clean dish you got there. You're changing that dish right then and there. And the same with the big guy. I'll go out there about every other day, half a dozen eggs, then the next day it'll be some gizzards, then it'll be some chicken hearts, then I'll chop up chicken and put in there. Then it'll be rodents, so I mix it up. And then I'll skip a day because I don't, they'll sit there and just get fat. So I'll take him out and get him walking on the leash. My daughter will actually take him out and walk him around the yard and everything, that way he gets some exercise. Because you don't want him to get too fat. They can put on too much, it's just, it's not healthy for them. Yes.
That happens a lot with the Savis too.
Yes, that's with those guys. It's best to put them on like a strict insect diet, and that's the best instead of just feeding them a lot of rodents, because that's what caused the death of my the first monitor I got was a Savannah, and it was because I was 11 years old. I was doing what the pet store told me to do. I was like, here, feed him this much. And then when I took it to the vet, and he was and he's like, no, that's not how you take care of him. And they had to remove some of it wasn't digesting, so they had to take all what was still in there that wasn't undigested, but the stress of that operation is what killed him. So no matter what we did at that point, they said, you got a 50-50, is what the vet told me. And then he said, if you ever get something like this in the future, he said, do the research on that, on exactly, and don't always take what, like at a pet store, get you some books. So I learned a lesson on that one.
Any chance you supplement any vitamin?
Mm-hmm.
Vitamin to the...
Yes, I use the Reptical on them. Mm-hmm.
What kind of cat food do you feed?
I actually have, this is one right here. And then,
Boy, cat food.
Fancy food.
and then that's another one that I use. And I drain the gravy off of it because they like to crawl through it and make a mess. But I'll cut that up, and I'll give him like half of that.
Oh, I was gonna say, he gets a whole can.
No, they don't get the whole can. You just give that,
So he gets the turkey. So a mangrove monitor could eat the same.
yes.
So how do you judge how much they should eat in a sitting?
Normally I'll put one of those in there and see how much he eats off of all. And then I'll even cut that down more, because you don't want them to, because they'll overeat. So I cut it down to keep them on a good diet. You don't want them to get, like a big fat house cat.
Yeah.
Was he that tame when you got him?
Actually, yes. That was like, oh, I'm definitely keeping this guy. Because normally the ones that I would get that were given to me would be just vicious, and that's why everybody was getting rid of them. Because they were wild caught. I'm guessing that this guy might have been captive. And it ended up at that pet store, and it was down in Ruskin, is where it came from. And I was just lucky to get this before those rules changed, because now, if I didn't get him, I could never have one ever again. The same with my pythons that I have, my tegus. I had to scramble, so when I seen what was going to happen, I built one heck of an elaborate cage to keep my stuff in. I call it the Godzilla kennel. Now this is my Asian water monitor, 7 years old. His name is Precious. That's how I was looking at him when we picked him up. As soon as I stuck my arm down into where the babies were at, it was the first one to run up and sit on my shoulder. My wife said, if you don't get that, you're going to hate yourself. I was like, okay, you don't have to tell me twice.
Oh, wow.
How old did you say he was?
7.
Just swallow?
He just swallowed it without chewing it that much. They're feeding good like this, do they get a little bit more snappy with you?
Sometimes when they're really hungry, yes. But that's why I try to keep him to where he's not ravenous when he goes to eat. But
Is that
he'll
his,
eat consistently.
was that his first time eating today? Did you save it for us? Or
Yeah, I saved that for you today.
Very good.
And he's constantly shedding. That means they're always growing, and you can look at these claws. That's why I got all these gloves and stuff up here. So when I pick him up, he'll dig into me. And when he was around 3 feet, he would get scared when the kids would be like, oh, and then he would climb up and sit on top of my head. He would hook his claws into my ear and stuff. And
Wait, so was that when he was a baby? Because
yeah,
like,
yeah.
what, on the onto your head if people
Oh yeah, I got pictures where he was sitting up on top of my hat and everything.
And trimming their claws probably isn't an option.
No, it can be a pain, but the way that I have the cage set up, he has a rough surface that he digs at, and that helps get him wore down. The next area that I'm gonna build, it's gonna probably be, I gotta say, probably another 20 by 20 square, and then it'll be made out of cement, and then it'll have where it can actually climb up.
How tall?
It'll probably be like 10 feet high.
How tall is the cage now?
The cage right now is probably about 7. It was in our horse barn, so basically when my wife got out of horses, I took the barn over, and it is now my reptile room.
Have you seen Camp Cannon's enclosure for his water monitor?
Yes, that's nice.
That's beautiful. Oh my God, I can't believe it.
Look at that, he's so full he's gonna drag himself.
And he wants to slip out of that harness because he's like, no, you won't let me go where I want to go.
He's like, no, I want to go see the people.
Is it okay for him to kind of approach us?
Yeah, he's not gonna. Just don't move fast because that's when he'll take off. Because I was,
Oh wow, look at that belly.
he's probably maybe 40 pounds. Yeah, it's not that heavy. So when you hear a story, oh, it was a 150-pound monitor, it's like, no, it's not a Komodo dragon.
How often do you handle?
Every day, pretty much.
Is that what you recommend?
Yeah, I work with them every day. All the reptiles that I have, it's constant because I have a large collection. So once you finish, you start the next day over again.
When you say your daughter takes him for a walk, how long?
Normally when I'm cleaning the cage, probably about 25, 30 minutes when I'm going through and spot cleaning, and she'll walk him around the yard.
How old is your daughter?
22.
I was gonna say.
She used to help me when she was little and stuff too. She would go over to the presentations with me. She liked showing off the tortoises and the tarantulas.
He's just incredible.
You get like going like, oh, you could take.
Are they prohibited yet, or are
Not
they
yet.
next on the list?
They're wanting to put all monitors on there on that one list that came out. They put down rock monitors on the list, and then they had all monitors on the list. So the thing is, if you want something like this, do the research. If you're going to be able to build a big enough page for it, you can get it. Make sure you keep your receipt and paperwork, because then that way you'll be grandfathered in to get the permit. That's just how it is. There's no way around it.
He's trying to stop you from having DVDs on there.
Oh, I bet when he goes to the bathroom, it's a day changer.
John, at what age to start reading?
These guys started 3 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Reading something at the beginning.
Oh, as long as it's Sunday, they bring you around.
What age do I get? 2 years old?
Yeah, about 3 years old.
3 years old.
Uh-huh.
Are they very aggressive with female?
Oh, yes. Yes, they are. That's why I never really got into wanting to breed monitors, because the males beat the females up. And then you can also deal with them becoming egg bound, and that can be a nightmare. Because I'm losing an Asian water monitor that I had for a long time. She was a female, and I got her from a pet store, and they were selling her as a Nile monitor. My wife calls me, I got an Asian up here just selling as an ox helper. So I had her for probably about 11 or 12 years. And she swelled, she got really big. And then she laid an egg like that. And she laid another egg. And then she just just rolled over on me after laying those 2 eggs. And she was bound up. And that was it.
How does he react with other people? Like, does he allow anybody else to kind of touch
Yes,
him?
I've actually had him out and put him up on the top of this and had kids come by and just move real slow. You can't have kids that are really scared cats and screaming and stuff. They're real quiet and calm. He's calm. It's the loud noises. It's like, what's going on? Is someone trying to eat me? Because when he was little, he'd climb up and sit on top of my head and just look at everything.